Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, August the 23rd, 2016. Good to have you all here for our first and only show of this week. Um, I apologize. I made a little error when I scheduled the show tonight. I said that if you look at the releases on social media and um, if you look at the release on social media and all the other information about our show tonight, you'll see that I said 8:30 p.m. Eastern time to start the show tonight. That's simply because I looked up the time and the time was close to 8:30, so I figured I'd just go to 8:30. And I thought I need more time to get situated because it was taking forever for me to get on tonight. Google, for those of you that you're probably going to be experiencing problems with streaming us tonight. Google is having major issues tonight. So please bear with us through that. I had trouble logging on. It's just lagging very, very badly tonight. I had a really hard time, which is why we're starting late. You know, you think you're going to have an on-time show. You're already about 15 minutes beforehand, and you can't log in. You can't get on Google at all. You can't get anything to upload. You can't get anything to work. It was a good thing we're only doing one show this week and next because I think I need a break from trying to make this work. I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that they're moving to YouTube Live and getting rid of Google Hangouts on September 12th. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but for whatever reason, the maintenance of it has been horrible. So whatever the reason, that's why we started late. But also why I said 8:30 p.m. Eastern because I thought we'd need more time to get situated. So we're starting a couple minutes earlier than I thought we would based on the delays. So, but hey, you know what? Better get started ahead than later. This is our first and only show this week as my co-host has jumped on and joined us. Mike's in the spotlight with us here.
Hello.
So,
Bonjour. What?
very,
Bonsoir.
very bilingual tonight. All right, so this is our first and only show. A couple quick reminders off the top. Again, there will not be a show this Thursday. Our next show after tonight will be a week from tonight. And it'll be the same show. It'll be sports, entertainment, wrestling. I didn't put wrestling in the show description. I should have. I didn't. Sorry. So we are going to do some wrestling stuff tonight. Honestly, we're not going to do a whole lot of sports stuff tonight. We're going to finish off the Olympic stuff. Baseball, there wasn't a whole lot that happened this week. You know, we've been doing a lot of baseball lately, which is good because we needed to. But I honestly don't have much to go on this week. In fact, we might not even do anything with it. Depends. So, you know, our sports stuff probably just going to be tying up the Olympics. And we'll finish some baseball stuff next week. And then we're going to do some wrestling, entertainment, we're going to do the box office. I put entertainment news in there. There isn't a whole lot. So we probably won't do anything with that. So you're probably just going to get some Olympic stuff, box office beats, some wrestling stuff, and that's going to be it. And then next week, you know, it'll be the same kind of general idea, but it's just that you might get more baseball. You won't have Olympics. They're done. You get more baseball. You'll get the same you'll get the box office big, maybe a little more entertainment news. We won't have as much wrestling to get to. We have a lot of wrestling because of the pay-per-view and last night and tonight too, because there's some things going on tonight. So, we'll go over more wrestling stuff tonight than we will anything else. So that's tonight, and then that's next week. And next week will be the same general framework, and then the week after that. Well, the day after Labor Day, we'll be back to normal, back to Tuesday, Thursday, 2 days a week, and our usual schedule. Although that first show back will be a combo show because that Thursday, the 8th, we will announce the nominations for the 5th Annual In the Spotlight TV Awards, and of course, give you all the information you need to be able to participate in the live vote of the awards during the awards broadcast on Thursday, September 22nd. So please do keep that in mind. Nominations are currently being tabulated, and they will be ready in plenty of time for our Thursday, September 8th nomination show. All right, so that's all that. A lot of people, I just want to address something really quickly. A lot of people have asked me if we're going to be bringing back the football blitz this fall. Here's the thing. We're going to do something. Now, there's a possibility I bring it back for a month and then do something different. There's a possibility that we fold it into the show and just, you know, because it is early in the season, and just deal with it for a month and then go back to the football blitz. There's a couple of different things. And the reason why I don't know is two reasons. One, even if we were to stay put here on Google Hangouts. Okay, Google Hangouts is not going to be no more on September 12th. It is going to YouTube Live. I have to figure out what we're going to do with that. Okay, and I prefer YouTube anyway, so that's fine. But we'll work on it and see what we're going to do. I won't get into this tonight. I was going to wait till September on this, but we are going to probably be making a host change soon. Not as in who's hosting the show, as in where we are. Because this last year or so, it's been very difficult to deal with the setup that we have. It hasn't worked out as the way I wanted it to. It's been very, very hard to do anything that we like doing. I feel like it's kind of ruined the dynamics of the show. It hasn't worked out. It just hasn't worked out, put it that way. So we are going to make a significant change in October. The plan was to make it in October. We may have to make it sooner. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not. This change ain't going to happen tonight. Ain't going to happen next week. September is a possibility. More likely October. But we'll give you more information on that as we get closer to it. It's not exactly imminent, but it is coming up. Usually by now I would be building it up and hyping and going, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. But I don't know the details yet. I don't have a firm date yet on when we're going to be undergoing this transition, so I don't want to speak about it yet. So just keep that in mind, okay? I know I hinted a couple months ago about something. This is what I was hinting at. I just didn't want to get into it. First of all, it's summer. Second of all, I just didn't have enough information yet. It's starting to come into more clarity, but I don't want to get into it yet. So put it that way. So the football stuff is all tied into that. So you'll get more information over the next couple weeks. I know football season, college football starts next week. I know NFL starts in 2 weeks. Bear with us. We'll give you the information you want when we have it. Okay, so with that being said, let's just get started. That's all the announcements I have. Usually I have like 15 minutes worth. Oh, but I do have our usual reminders. If you'd like to interact and contribute to our show and have your voice heard, you can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. You can either use the hashtags we provide for you, which is hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS5, that's our 5th anniversary hashtag, or you can create your own hashtag, hashtag ITS Wrestling, hashtag ITS Basketball, whatever you want to use. Feel free to do so. Just don't be disrespectful or insulting. That's all we ask. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure you like our page upon finding it. All right, so there you go. Let's get rolling here. We are going to start off with finishing off my favorite event. I'm sure Mike's favorite event, the Olympics. Try to hide your disgruntled reaction.
Yay.
Well, this is going to be very quick because, we talked last week about this. We kind of set the stage for the entire week. Again, there's a lot that was compelling about last week. Okay? There was a lot of things in track. There's some things in track and field, some great stories. Was it as big of a week as the first week? No, it never seems to be anymore. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff last week took a back seat to the situation with Ryan Lochte and the swimmers and that whole controversy, which we didn't talk about on Thursday because we didn't have the time and I didn't think it was the right time to do it. I don't really want to say much about it because I don't think it's kind of like this really weird back and forth where one day you think this is the story, the next day it's another story. It's so hard to tell what really happened. So I'm not going to go into this, diatribe about what was done, who did what. Look, there were mistakes made. The athletes didn't handle it the right way at all. No. Okay. But we don't know. We still really don't feel like we know the story. And that's an issue, which is why I think it's a difficult subject to talk about. Obviously, no matter which way you look at it, it isn't good for our country. It was embarrassing. Ryan Lochte obviously lost some endorsements. Obviously, it's not good for anybody that was involved. It was embarrassing. It was handled the wrong way. A lot of things about these Olympics were handled the wrong way. Unfortunately, that takes away from a lot of the good things that did happen. There was a lot of good. there was a lot of inspiring things that happened. I read this great article on ESPN that really, like, it was really well done, where it talked about the good things being there, but then you got all these bad things. The IOC representative that got arrested, the Ryan Lochte situation, crime, and all these other things that happen, these horrible things that happen in and around the games. The controversy before the games and whether Rio was ready and all these other things. It really just was. It's unfortunate that a lot of the good that did happen did get kind of overwhelmed, especially in the second week of the games. When our efforts, when our focus should have been on the games themselves and all they represented, there were times our focus went to things that it shouldn't have had to go to. And I think we all suspected and were hoping that we suspected it could happen. We were hoping it wouldn't. The first week it was they had so much good going on, and I think it did overwhelm it. But last week there was good going on, but a lot of the bad stuff overwhelmed it, and that's unfortunate. Like I said, there's some great things in track and field. The men's, women's basketball teams both won gold. There was a lot of good things last week. And then we already talked about week one last week. When you look back at these games, unfortunately, you're going to remember a lot of the bad. And that's because that's what more people were talking about. If you had flip-flopped the weeks, if you had a lot of the heavy-duty controversial stuff that took place last week happened the week before, yeah, you still would have had some bad, but I feel like so much, the Michael Phelps stuff, the Final Five, so many of those stories were so big that I think the bad could have been overwhelmed a little bit by the good. It didn't happen that way. A lot of that good stuff in week one is kind of like almost in the rearview mirror at this point. And unfortunately, that it's you want to end on a good note, and they didn't do that. So it is what it is. They're over. They're done with. We move on. You hope that the next games, winter, summer, don't have some of these stigmas that are going to exist on the memory of these games. Tokyo made a great presentation, including the great Super Mario part of it, which was funny and awesome to see. That was probably the only thing about the closing ceremonies that I thought was pretty good. And again, that's always a very melancholy thing and a very weird circumstance. To me, it's an awkward thing. So many people have left, and it's always awkward, the closing ceremonies. I don't care what anybody says. But, hey, it is what it is. You move on. It's done. It's over with. Mike, do you want to say any closing thoughts on games here?
It was a clusterfuck to behold. Every Olympics, you ask the question, too much. Answer, yes. About the Ryan Lochte thing, he wants to tell the truth. It's the worst thing. It's a stupid scandal. Apparently, I was telling you this off the air, NBC News. I don't know if they've redacted the story or not. A couple of days after, he broke to that bathroom.
Right.
That Ryan Lochte and co allegedly wrecked. They allegedly ripped the door off, and they threw a door hanger, and they threw the soap dispenser off, and they did all this, They peed everywhere.
Yeah.
NBC went to this and looked. The town was in good condition. The doors weren't ripped off, destroyed. All they found that was somebody's lying here. A lot of people are lying here,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Lochte acted like a giant tool. acted like giant tools. They were, in fact, held up. That happened. And pee everywhere. Because that's the majority of the friggin' games. You'd be hard-pressed to figure out the difference between the piss smell at the gas station and the piss smell the rest of the area, especially the Olympic Village. Still wasn't working. So we've got an issue. We've got a giant issue, you know? And then all the corruption. Oh, Jesus. The Olympic, the IOC official who got arrested. Tickets to his own games. It's like, yes, it's supposed to celebrate the best of sports. It's just a clusterfuck from beginning to end. But hey, at least the USA didn't shit the bed in basketball again this year.
Yeah.
That helped for us. So.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It was a big old mess.
No, I agree. All right, so we move on. Olympics have now passed. I mentioned that we weren't going to do too much for baseball. I will mention a couple of little things. The Rangers have waived Josh Hamilton, but left the door open for 2017 for him. No surprise there. 20 MLB teams will attend Tim Tebow's workout. 20 MLB teams. So there is interest. We'll see how that pans out. I don't, again, a lot of you have been asking me, do you think he can make it onto a roster for September call-ups? I highly doubt it. You won't see it. If anything, this is for him to get some eyes, and then maybe a team signs him. He can go play maybe winter ball or something and get as much prep as he can so that he can be in spring training with teams and be ready. I think he just doesn't want to hop into spring training. You know what I mean? I think this is something that if a team is interested, he'll go play some winter ball somewhere or something. Get a feel of things, get as much practice in before spring training, then go into spring training and try to make a team, make a team's opening day roster. I think that's what he's trying to do. So the earlier he gets this process going, the more likely it is he gets more run-throughs in, and he can get into when he gets to spring training, he won't be just starting from scratch, essentially. I think that's pretty smart, to be honest. I think that's a good approach. If he's going to do it and be serious about it, I think that's a really good approach. So, from what I'm hearing, I mean, he seems like look. I think somebody at least give him a look, and maybe take a flyer out. And they can always you can bring him in the spring training and see what you get. If you see something there, you bring him in spring training. Maybe he plays winter ball before that. Bring him into spring training. See if anything happens, and if he doesn't, you cut him. I mean, it's a win-win, really. He's gonna bring a lot of attention to you. He's gonna make some money for you doing it that way. So there you go. But we'll see what happens there. That's really the only other MLB stories that I think are, obviously you got the playoff races. AL wildcards tighten up. Kansas City's gotten really hot, so they're back in the mix again, along with New York, Seattle, Detroit, Toronto, Boston, Baltimore. Of course, whoever team is, and some of those teams are still in the AL East mix. So the AL wildcard race has gotten entertaining. Even if the division races are not so much, Cleveland's pretty much gone. Texas is pretty much gone. I forgot the Astros in the wild card race; they're in there as well. The AL West is pretty much done. AL Central is pretty much done. So the only races of note in the AL is AL East and AL wild card, and they're all very, very tight. So those should be good races to watch down the stretch. NL, the West is still pretty much there. The NL wild card is obviously entertaining. The East is pretty much done. And the Central is still entertaining. So the NL's got some good races. So some good playoff races. No doubt we'll be talking about them throughout. It's just not a whole lot of updates on those things this week. So not a whole lot of MLB stuff going on this week. So we'll move on. As I mentioned, we weren't going to do too much baseball, really. That's really all that's going on in sports. It's pretty much the Olympics and baseball. Obviously, college football will be getting underway soon. When we get to we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. NFL, same thing. But that's nothing really else going on. I mean, we could talk about Jim Boeheim, who's trending on Twitter right now, about the fact that he said that Carmelo Anthony is unlikely to ever win a championship. It's got a lot of people talking.
The Chicago team won the NBA Development League title.
Yep.
Noteworthy because the final sequences to both the regulation and overtime were second shot after last second shot after last second shot after last second shot, and Chicago won. Apparently, it was a really cool. Really
right.
cool.
Right. Well, hey, I mean, if you're gonna, it's awesome to win, but when you win in memorable fashion, it makes it all the better. So yeah, I mean, so there's not a whole lot going on, and the Boeheim stuff it's just Jim Boeheim being Jim Boeheim. He's just telling it like look, Carmelo Anthony, as long as he's with the Knicks aren't going anywhere anytime soon, and he's not getting any younger, and he's got injury problems. I mean, you do the math. I see what he's trying to say. All right, so we'll leave the sports stuff alone. We'll jump to entertainment before we get to wrestling and get some box office stuff in. And this weekend, look, this is going to be a quick box office beat because it was a bad. It's the end of all. Ordinarily, it's the third week of August, so I shouldn't be saying this is a bad week. I really shouldn't be. But it kind of is, because you look at what was on tap for this weekend, and across the board, it just should have been, I think it just should have been better. Now, look, I said right on here from the beginning that I felt like Ben-Hur could flop, and it did. All right, nobody asked for this remake. It was unnecessary. First of all, to put it where they put it, this is the kind of movie, the historical epic kind of movies just don't fit in summer anymore. There are always these kind of movies that do better in like the fall because they usually are made more for awards recognition than they are for box office now. They just don't do well anymore. They just don't. With so many fantasy and sci-fi and comic book movies and that, people get their escapism from that. And, and the historical epic kind of movies just don't seem to do as well anymore. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the trend that we've been in for probably like 10 years now. And it's sad, but I mean you had to see it coming. Now, I mean, for Ben-Hur, what do you hope for? You hope for the overseas growth might help it. Not getting much help there. It's making less there than it is over here. It's at a $100 million budget, which I'm kind of shocked it's even that low, and it's only made $22.8 million through yesterday. It's not going to make its budget back. It's a big flop, and again, it wasn't that shocking that it was. I don't think you can be disappointed in War Dogs only because it's R-rated and it's a movie that really is going to based on the content, okay? It was going to be very derisive. It's just, you're going to have the actors and their fan bases come out. Todd Phillips has a fan base now. They'll come out. It's not something I ever expected to make a whole ton of money. I was really looking around between 12 and 16, 17 million. It hit right in there. It's already made 22.6 million. I think the studio's probably pleased with it. And then when you toss in how well Sausage Party's been doing, and I think that kind of hurts it too because Sausage Party maybe took some of those theaters, and when you're R-rated, you have to really fight and claw for those theaters. So, it is what it is. Kubo and the Two Strings, again, another movie I didn't think was going to do great business. I don't care how good it was. And I'm sure it was fantastic. It just wasn't going to do great business. It's not a known commodity. And if you're an animated movie and not a known commodity and you don't have this big, like, flashy kind of thing behind you, you're not going to do well. You don't have, like, the big studio marketing campaign. They did a good marketing campaign, but it's just not a property that I think was going to get a huge audience, like a $30, $40 million audience. It was always going to be like this 10, 11, 12, 15, even $15 million movie. And it fell right in there. Now, Suicide Squad, DC can say that they won 3 weekends in a row, but let's be realistic about this. It only won at least its third week because everything else dropped or just didn't do what was not going to do as good enough to take number one or number two. They benefited from the lack of competition, basically. Still made $20.8 million, still doing extremely well. You know, you can say you hate the movie, and that's fine. I mean, you know, I hated Batman v Superman, but hey, I mean, it made a ton of money. This one's up to $577.5 million. It's well over its budget. It's doing very well. So DC's not going to complain. Warner Bros. Not going to complain. Sausage Party dropped like we all thought it would, made about 15.4. I thought it had outside shot at 20, but again, not really out of the realm they would drop this far. Disney's probably a little bit disappointed in Pete's Dragon, but again, not as big of a commodity as a Jungle Book or a Cinderella. You know, it's made $58.5 million, so it's close to equaling its budget, so it'll probably make some kind of profit. It's not a total washout. It's not as bad of it's not like a flop like Alice in Through the Looking Glass was, but you know, obviously Disney's high expectations, but they got other movies later this year, and they've done well enough already this year they can accept it. And then outside of that, you had Jason Bourne at a little over $8 million, still holding pretty strong. Bad Moms at 7.9. That held better than I thought. I thought it would go under $5 million. It didn't. Same thing with Secret Life of Pets. I thought it would drop below $5 million. It didn't. It held strong. 5.1. That movie's done very, very well in its seventh week now. And that was your box office. So I mean, I guess if you really look at the top 10, you know, Florence Foster Jenkins was 10 with 4.3. It's not that bad. You have a $20 million movie, a $15 million movie, a $14 million movie, $12 million movie, two $11 million movies. So your top 6 is all over $10 million. And 9 of your top 10 is over $5 million. That's pretty good. And you know, once you get past the middle part of August, it really is a lull. So to do this in the third week of August is actually pretty good. It's just that, again, you know, the previous couple of weeks, some very high, you know, you had some pretty good totals. I think people's expectations got a little higher than they should have, but that's been the theme of this summer. Expectations too high, people not being realistic about things. Last summer, we talked about this. This happened a few years back too. You know, when you come off a year like you had last year, every single time the next summer, people's expectations get too high, and they view everything that doesn't hit those high expectations as flops. Not everything. There hasn't been that many true flops this summer. There's been some movies that have underperformed based on people's higher than should have been expectations. There have been flops, but there haven't been as many as people act like there have been. Has this summer been as good as last summer in terms of box office? No, it has not. Has it been horrible? No. In fact, it's probably been pretty average. It's more of a realistic kind of summer. And with how hot it's been, more people probably just went to the beaches and stuff. So it is what it is. Mike, do you have anything to add about last week's box office?
Last week's box office?
Which wasn't much.
It was not much.
It did.
To be quite honest with you, it's a lot when the best offering was on Netflix.
Very true.
If you haven't seen Little Prince, why the hell haven't you? If you had to, I mean, it's one of the best reasons to have Netflix right now. Little Prince was a great movie, and Paramount should feel like gigantic fucking tools for dropping that movie. And do you know why I'm bringing up Paramount specifically?
Why?
Like giant fucking tools for dropping Little Prince completely when that would have made them a profit. Significant profit. Even though it was in the wrong time of year, all they had to do was delay Little Prince a couple weeks. Been fine. Release the gigantic turd that was Ben-Hur. 16. And budget. It got $10 million. So you're looking at $22 million on a $100 million budget. Making it extraordinarily unlikely. Even the business worldwide has to pick up huge for it to kind of make back its production budget, not counting any promotional budget it could have.
Right.
Because it's going to drop off even more here in America.
Mm-hmm.
So Paramount sacrifices Little Prince because they don't know when to schedule fucking movies, and release Ben-Hur, a dead weekend in August. They really had high hopes about Ben-Hur. They probably should have put it sometime in July. I don't know what time in July, but it should have been sometime in July. Maybe it could have competed. I don't know, The Legend of Tarzan or something.
Maybe.
Did 125 million.
Somehow.
They did 125 million in America. 227 foreign. I don't know why they decided to spend 180 million on a. But they did. They did. In a summer where a lot of these movies just by foreign gross, like Star Trek Beyond, it didn't get saved by its foreign gross, but its foreign gross put it over, and now it's profitable. Just embarrassing. Something like, it's not that Ben-Hur was a bad movie; it was a good movie. Obviously, I haven't seen the movie like the majority of other people who have not seen this movie.
Right.
Just they don't know when to schedule a movie, and we're all a little bitter about Little Prince.
Right.
Little Prince was a really fucking good movie. Now we're at the dog days. Nobody's fucking gonna go out and see a movie.
Really? Yeah.
It's the end of summer. College students are gonna be going back to school soon if they haven't already gone back to school soon. A lot of the elementary schools are getting back into the swing of things. A lot of elementary and high schools, the schools are going to be going back to school in about 3 weeks. Dog days.
Right.
Raining. People want to do things outside. People want to do things with the family. People want to barbecue, go to beaches, etc., etc., etc. Unless there's something must see, they're not going to see anything. So you're going to see Suicide Squad repeat with $20 million. Even that movie was literally just okay.
Yeah. Well, you're entering this period of, if people do see movies, they're going to see the movies that they might have missed out on over the last month. For whatever reason. Maybe they're on vacation, or, that's what they're going to hit up. And you're right. Schools, colleges, those are starting to come into play. And that's why, again, we talked about the way that things have been since 2002. Once you move the summer box office to May, what used to be, because it really used to go right through Labor Day. You used to have big movies coming out right through Labor Day. They moved it up, and now you really see, again, by the middle part of August, it's done. It's over. It's over. And that's really what you're at. And look, Ben-Hur, I've seen the original Ben-Hur. Look, we did not need another Ben-Hur. We did not need another Ben-Hur. Okay? It just wasn't necessary. And again, I know these movies need to be made. I understand that. But these historical epic movies, I really wish these studios would be smart about this. You've seen them time and time again. And Mike knows this because we've seen enough of them not do very well. They always get these $100 to $150, $200 million budgets. They don't do well anymore. Now, I understand you can't make these for $10 million. I get that. But if you're going to commit $100 million to something like this, make sure you put it in a good spot. Make sure you feel confident in it, and make sure you give it a good spot. Give it, you mentioned that maybe July would have been a better part. It would have been better than when they get what they gave it. I don't know how much better, but you would have given it somewhat of a better chance. But I tend to think this kind of movie is a better fall release. It's a better fall release. It's a better, I mean, you maybe could push it into January, but fall would have been ideal. Not November or December. Oh, you could have made Christmas Day work. We've seen that happen. You could have if you felt like you had awards aspirations, you could have given it Christmas Day, made it work. But it's definitely not a third week of August release. And again, I said it all along. I did not feel like it was going to do well, and it didn't. And if you want to see that if you really want evidence that we're in a lull, look at what's coming out this Friday. We got 3 movies. None of them are opening in over 3,000 theaters. The highest one is opening in 2,900 theaters. All right? None of these movies are going to really make a whole lot. Although we do have our traditional Mechanic movie coming out in August, which seems to happen almost every year.
Well, it's not a traditional Mechanic movie.
No.
It's a traditional Jason Statham movie.
Right. But again, that's kind of like a tradition. It's late August, and I feel bad for him because I feel like that's what they always do with his movies. They just toss them into the dearth of summer, the end of the days of summer. But look, you got 3 movies this weekend. None of these movies I expect to break 20 million. I just don't think people are going to see movies this weekend. There's a good chance it just ends up being like last year, this week and next week, where you get some movie, a couple movies. Maybe a movie makes $15 million, maybe not. And that's kind of what your number one movie is going to get. I suppose there's a chance that, Don't Breathe, which has been getting a lot of horror movie hype, can eke out a $20 million, but I highly doubt it. That is the movie opening in most theaters. Don't Breathe, a horror thriller from Sony Screen Gems, opening in 2,900 theaters, starring Stephen Lang, Dylan Minnette, and Jane Levi. It is R-rated. It is opening 2,900 theaters. Is it possible it could eke out a $20 million opening? Yes. Is it probable? No. I'm thinking more along the lines of 10, 11, if at that. Your second biggest release is Mechanic Resurrection, an action film for Lionsgate Summit, opening in 2,200 theaters. Jason Statham, Jessica Alba, Tommy Lee Jones all star in this R-rated film. Again, R-rated films, you don't get as much out of them from a box office standpoint unless it's a special case. Again, I don't expect much from it. It could maybe get to 15, maybe 16 tops. And your third release is Hands of Stone, a drama from the Weinstein Company. Oh, here comes the fall. We're getting the Weinstein Company movies. Get that Oscar movies in. Get those Oscar movies in. R-rated, opening in 2,200 theaters. Oh, sorry, not 2,200, 2,000 theaters. Starring Usher, Ellen Barkin, Robert De Niro, and John Turturro. This is a movie that's got a lot of buzz. It's a movie that a lot of people expect to be in the awards mix. It will play better to probably older audiences. You could see it maybe getting to, again, another R-rated movie, maybe 11, 12 million. These 3 movies are probably going to be all within range between maybe between 10 and $15 million. I guess with that in mind, it's conceivable that any one of them could end up being number one, depending on how Suicide Squad holds. If Suicide Squad only drops to around 14, 15 million, that movie could take number one. Sausage Party, War Dogs, Kubo will all drop under 10 million. They all will, because they're going to lose theaters. So they're all going to drop under 10 million, so they won't be in play for number one. Pete's Dragon will probably drop to around 7, 6 million. So you're probably looking at this. Either one of the new releases, maybe the Mechanic, probably the best chance. Don't Breathe could be 2. So those two, one of those 2 or Suicide Squad will be number 1. If Suicide Squad drops below 15 million, then I think it's unlikely it will be. So you'll have those 3 movies duking it out for 1, 2, and 3. I could see. Let me see. Sausage Party. I don't think Sausage Party will hold up long enough to get that. Hands of Stone, I could see being in there around third or fourth. Then Sausage Party probably around 10 million, maybe 8, 9 million around there. And then you got everything else that'll fall into place after. Pete's Dragon probably be in your 6, 7 million. Let's see. War Dogs probably in that same range as well. Same thing with Kubo and Two Strings. A lot of these movies are going to be close. Ben-Hur, I think, will crash right to about 5 million. Bad Moms will probably drop under there finally. So will Secret Life of Pets. So Ben-Hur probably around 5 million. Pete's Dragon around 6, 7. Kubo and War Dogs around 8, 9 million, along with Sausage Party. And then you have... then you'll start with the movies from this week. You'll start with Hands of Stone, Don't Breathe, Mechanic, Suicide Squad, all in that range. So it's gonna be one of those weeks where it's very, very close in rankings and in number. But I honestly think you're looking at a number one movie this week around 15, 16 million. So kind of like last week where you got a lot of movies in the same kind of vicinity of each other at a low kind of number one. Although at least last week you got 20 million for your number one. So, and then next week's gonna be even worse because Labor Day weekend, traditionally not about the new releases. If anybody goes to the movies, it's about the releases that have been out already. You do have 2 movies opening wide, and that will get more theaters. You have a Disney film called The Light Between Oceans, a drama, PG-13, starring Michael Fassbender, Alicia Vikander, and Rachel Weisz. Again, that's going to play more to older audiences. It probably won't do huge numbers. And a sci-fi thriller called Morgan from Fox, starring Kate Mara and produced by Ridley Scott. Again, that probably won't, and that's R-rated. That probably won't play big either. So next couple of weeks, you're probably looking at number one movies at around between 10 and 15 million. And hey, I guess if Labor Day weekend doesn't turn out as bad as last year for the box office, they'll be happy. And then after that, it'll probably improve a little bit, slowly, more and more as you get to September. By the time you get to the end of September, it'll start to get better. That's the way it works. That's the pattern. You know, you drop massively at the end of August, and then you have to slowly build your way out. I don't expect another huge weekend until the weekend of September 23rd when you got the Magnificent Seven because Chris Pratt's in it, and so is Denzel Washington. And then you got the animated film Storks, which is getting a lot of buzz. So until then, I don't expect much. So, Mike, anything more to add before we move on?
Going to be in a bit of a slump until the Magnificent Seven remake. I know. Why did they have to remake the Magnificent Seven? We just talked shit about Ben-Hur. The difference is Washington and Chris Pratt, and the movie looks outstanding. Nothing drew a crowd to it. I just want to see how kind of bad this is.
Yeah.
With the Magnificent Seven, they went out of their way. People would be interested in it because, hell, you want to see everything with Chris Pratt now, and Denzel doesn't usually. So,
yeah.
So, Magnificent Seven is literally the only movie I'm looking forward to for the next month and a half until November, when we get to like the Doctor Stranges and the Magnificent, the Fantastic Beasts, and where to find them, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. It's going to be a long month at the box office, that's all I'm going to say. Although you got Tom Hanks as Sully, that might do okay, but again, I don't think it's going to do. It won't do what Magnificent Seven might do, which could be like 40, 50 million. All right, so let's move on. Let's get out of the box office. There isn't, like I said earlier, there really isn't a whole lot of entertainment news. I scoured the internet. None of you really sent anything in, so I don't think there's really anything that really has to be talked about this week. So we're just going to move forward here. We have a lot of wrestling stuff to get to, and I'd rather focus on that this week, so we'll leave it at that. If there's anything important, we'll cover it, like I said, next week. Nothing urgent or anything. All right, so there was a lot of, obviously we had our wrestling show last Thursday. We previewed SummerSlam. Let's talk about SummerSlam first while it happened.
Can we talk about NXT TakeOver 2, please?
Well, see, here's what
we've got to talk about something.
Wait.
It was good.
Well, we are, but see, here's my thinking, Mike. I was going to talk about SummerSlam and then go to Takeover because it'll ending on a good note. We want to move on a good note. We don't want to end on a bad note. Just Takeover kicked SummerSlam's ass.
No way.
Not even close. Really not even close. And by the way, right now SmackDown's kicking Raw's ass. Which is kind of funny. Look, there's not a lot that can be said about SummerSlam. A lot of people classify it as this. Really, up into Cena Styles, it wasn't bad. Like, if you ended the pay-per-view on Cena Styles right there, you would be like, okay, this is great. This is bad. That wasn't bad. That was a pretty good SummerSlam. You know, you could have lived with it. You could have lived with it. Obviously, some decisions were made based on injury, like Sasha Banks, which is unfortunate, but they really, the ladies told a really good story. There was nice. They wrote her out with. Obviously, she has a back injury. And they made that the story of the match, so it worked. It wasn't a bad match. A little sloppy, but it wasn't bad. Jericho, as they call themselves, was great, and it was a great win for them. Enzo and Cash, you hated to see lose, but at the same time, you have to build up Jericho and Kevin Owens a little bit too. The Miz match happened. It was kind of a waste. I honestly think they went into it thinking they were going to put the title on Apollo Crews, and somewhere along the way they just said, Apollo Crews isn't over. Let's not do it. I think if they realized that, they would have given him the feud. I honestly think that, because otherwise, why bother trying? And it wasn't even that Miz won by interference. Miz basically just beat him clean. So he can't even go back to it. The pre-show matches were fine. Obviously, if you remember SummerSlam, you're going to remember Cena versus AJ Styles. It was a great match. The ending was fantastic. In the moment of Cena putting his armband in the ring and leaving a piece of himself and then walking out was just a perfect way. That would have been a perfect way to end SummerSlam. Like, that would have been, like, you would have had an iconic moment in a way, but that's not what they did. Of course, they think they might have created an iconic moment.
I'm hearing myself laugh, too. It's in stereo.
I know. Yeah, isn't it? Mike will probably say this, but Finn versus Seth Rollins wasn't bad. I'm sad that the crowd shit all over it. I understand nobody liked the title belt, but you know what? After a few minutes, get off of it. Those two guys were working their tails off. Finn was injured for a lot of the match. To disrespect them both in that way, Foley, Rollins are all right to get upset about it. To disrespect them in that way when they were working their tails off, unlike another title match, which I'll get to in a second, was really just unfortunate. They didn't deserve that. And it was a great moment for Bale. It's unfortunately he had to relinquish the title. We'll talk about that later. The other match I'm speaking of is Dolph Ziggler versus Dean Ambrose, which was just a terrible match. Look, I like that Dean was doing the whole cocky, kind of heel, tweenish kind of thing, not taking Ziggler seriously. That only works if you're gonna either Ziggler's gonna win, or you're gonna have moments where we think Ziggler's gonna win and he just barely loses. You tease that he's getting closer and closer. You're building something up with Ziggler. You didn't do anything with that in that match. You basically it just buried Ziggler. Everything you've done in the last month to rebuild him a little bit, you squandered. And seeing what's going on tonight, I'm starting to. I kind of think that wasn't the WWE. I think that was the two guys in the match, because they're still treating Ziggler like he's a main eventer. And if you look at that match, Ziggler did not look like a main eventer. Ziggler looked like he was completely out of his depth. And that wasn't all on Ziggler. That was on Ambrose, too. Ambrose looked like he could care less other than making heel mannerisms in the ring. They really both should be embarrassed. They did nothing with the opportunity they had. You can blame WWE for booking, but really, those guys did nothing in that match to add anything to it. Didn't do anything to get the crowd invested other than Dean's heel mannerisms. And they didn't do anything to kind of build the match up and make it something special. Finn and Rollins, we all suspected that Finn was going to win. It was just as predictable a result as Ambrose Ziggler. But they still tried, and they made more of it. It still felt like something. Ambrose Ziggler felt like nothing. It looked like it felt like a random filler Intercontinental title match. It was horrible. Yeah, Nikki Bella come back. Okay, great. All that match was sloppy. The tag team match was cool and all. It was just a comedy thing and a way to get Big E back. Kind of predictable. The Roman Rusev match was a disaster. You could have ran the same thing and just had a match and then had Rusev go over. And then had Roman take him out after the match. You could have did the same damn thing if you give the crowd a match. Especially in light of what was going to happen in the main event. And the main event's the thing that everybody's talking about. And yes, okay, I know everybody's saying, oh, it was scripted. All the dirt sheets, everybody's reporting it was all part of the plan. Look, do I believe that TKO finish was part of the plan? Yes. Was the Shane McMahon F5 plan? Yes. Was Randy Orton supposed to get busted open the hard way? Maybe.
No.
But But, okay, well, all right. But was Randy Orton supposed to do something to maybe get a little bit of blood? To make it look better? Maybe.
They avoid blood nowadays.
I know, but with Brock Lesnar matches, I don't know. I'm skeptical. But anyway, I don't doubt that there was supposed to be some kind of like, we're going to make Randy, like it look like he got pummeled, okay? But there's no way you expect me to believe. If you look at Paul Heyman, and again, people are going to say, "Oh, you bought into it. They got you. They worked you." No, look, to me, what I saw on Sunday night, the reactions of everybody led to me like Brock got way too freaking hot-headed and couldn't control himself. He got ticked off. Randy and him kept going back and forth. They got ticked off about the DDT. He got ticked off about everything that was been going on, and he just lost it. Because the way he was pummeling Orton, it wasn't just the elbow that opened Randy up. The way he kept going at it even after that. And I know Randy blocked some of the shots. But the way he went in on Randy that whole entire time, from that point when he gets busted open on, did not look scripted to me. And I know people are like, well, why did they let Brock keep going back and pummeling him? Because they're scared shit. It's Brock Lesnar. What do you think the referees are going to do? And we heard all kinds of stuff about backstage from the Dirt Sheets with Jericho and all this stuff. And look, we're going to be talking about this to the end of time about what really happened. Was it scripted? Was it what it wasn't? Whatever. I don't know. Whatever the case, it was the wrong way to end SummerSlam. On top of what happened with Roman and Rusev, it was the complete wrong way to end SummerSlam. Mike, go ahead. Your thoughts on SummerSlam?
It was ass.
Wow.
It was so bad. It was no. It was shit. It was, look, I had some high hopes for this. And then I saw NXT TakeOver. And then the general consensus was, after NXT TakeOver, everyone's like, all right, I'm saying it now, TakeOver is going to be better than SummerSlam. Okay? You just kind of let it happen. That's the thing. One of the best matches on the show happened on the one of the best matches on the goddamn show happened on the pre-show. Sheamus and Cesaro had a great 15-minute match. Main card would have done something, and you probably would have had Cesaro win. This is your second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Pay-per-view of the year. I don't know why you decided to have heels go over all night. As I understand it. What the fuck were you doing? I was deflated for most of the night. Look, you could get away with Jericho and Cass. You're building that program. Makes sense. And makes sense. And they usually like hometown boys doing the JOB in their hometown. Second year in a row that Enzo and Cass have done the job in their hometown. Year, on NXT, and they're doing it this year, Jericho and Owens, and it's all right because the crowd was cheering Jericho almost as much as they were cheering Enzo and Cass. You escaped that, all right? But Sasha, there were rumors going into the match with Sasha with the title to Charlotte. Well, guess what happened? That went off at the knees. Excuse me, I understand. I understand why you had to do it because injured, can't carry the belt. Sasha lost. They worked it in. What they should have done the next night is run the immediate title swap, so you have Charlotte chasing the face, which would have been fine. Miz beat Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews was supposed to win that match. Point where they realized, holy shit, we have not built up Apollo Crews and beat the Miz. Styles beat John Cena. That had to happen. He was getting cheered over. This is where, and that match was brilliant. Great. Jericho versus Enzo and Cass was okay. It was okay. Miz versus Apollo was didn't even go 6 minutes. And that's being nice. Of time. Finish because then all right. Gallows and Anderson beat the New Day by DQ. The feud must continue. The feud must continue, and you got the return of Big E. So in a way, it's like, oh well, the faces celebrate at the end, even though they lost. Dean versus Dolph was a waste of time. They actually did a decent job making Dolph seem serious. They left so many little plot threads hanging, and they're going to continue to leave it hanging because, of spoiler alert, Bray Wyatt does not give two shits about Dean Ambrose anymore. He cares about Randy Orton, another feud that he won't win. Where the fuck was Bray Wyatt? If Bray, what I would have done, this is just me booking, fan booking. Okay, I would have had Bray Wyatt match. Ref gets knocked out. Bray Wyatt or an emissary of his, either Harper or Rowan, interfere in the match. And I would have murky finish. It would have protected Ziggler. It would have got some sort of fucking fan reaction because the crowd sat on their hands for this match. They didn't want to say a thing. It's like, okay, once in a while you hear, let's go Ambrose, let's go Ziggler, let's go Ambrose, let's go Ziggler. We want Slater, let's go. That's how the fan reaction for this match, and this is a Brooklyn crowd, the fan reaction for this match is dumb. On Sunday, as we were watching, it's like, oh, the crowd didn't know who to cheer for. It usually hasn't stopped some face versus face matches for being having a very, very hot crowd.
Right.
It's just Dean Ambrose went in there, tried to work heel. The people would have rather have cheered Dean over Dolph. Tried to work heel, didn't work. Tried to work face. That's great. They didn't give Dolph enough hope spots. They didn't this at all. It just kind of. It's like somebody told them, hey, just wrap this shit up because we're dead. The finish was awful. The match was boring. This match was at least it was terrible. Good. Kind of drops the title to AJ Styles next month. Don't be surprised. Spoiler alert. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Bella beat Carmella. That was just to get Nikki Bella a win. However, this is what I would argue.
heels were technically going over all show, you probably should have reversed this result. Natty. Nikki Bella's comeback? No. An overall show. Finn beat Rollins. Really good match. Finn got injured here. Unfortunately, the crowd kind of ruined aspects of this one as well. Instead of kind of actively rooting for both guys, the crowd was shitting all over the title. This is one of those instances where the crowd was too smart for their own goddamn good.
Yeah.
One of the best matches on the show going on right there. Matches on the show happening with two really good guys. The title saying, we want Slater? Well, fuck you. The best you're going to get right now. Roman Reigns wasn't even a match. And then Brock Lesnar beat Randy Orton by TKO, which in itself is a non-fucking finish. You could say the TKO was an attempt to create a moment. No, it deflated the crowd. Well, that's great. Too much offensive. You could tell me all day that that finish was planned. That's great. It was a dumb idea, but sure, the finish was planned. Say that the idea was for Rock to mount Randy, close and knock him out. Finish was planned. Okay. All right, sure. Randy Orton getting busted open? No. That was not planned. That was Brock going into business for himself, because that's what he does when he gets upset, when he gets stiffed, not realizing that he's been stiffing the other guy all goddamn match. He can't handle giving. It's given to him. I stand if others do it to him.
Right.
So yeah. You would have been a smarter fucking idea. TKO finish. Lesnar. And a submission hold. Pass out. It literally accomplishes the same thing. You get Brock over as a mixed martial artist because he uses submission hold. Randy Orton goes down. He gets passed out. He cannot continue. Brock chokes out Randy Orton. Stands over. Nobody's busted open. And voila, we get an actual finish. Doesn't help the match with shit, too. To Randy Orton doing the Randy Orton. It was. So all these matches, generally most of these matches were a waste of goddamn time.
So why don't you talk about something that wasn't a waste of time, NXT TakeOver?
Oh, on the other hand, the night before we get NXT TakeOver. A couple of kind of weird things, like I don't know if I would have gone with the Revival beating. The really, really cool thing was they teased the turn. They teased the turn for so much, and then you got swerved by not having the turn. I think they did a really, really good job of that one, and that was one of the best matches of the night. This is Joe. Joe actually had a dislocated jaw. It wasn't broken. It was dislocated. It was a really good match. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe. Excellent match. Excellent match. Jose versus Austin Aries. You wouldn't think Jose did a really fucking good job beating Reddy. of the bargain. So he's got that dancing kind of gimmick, like Brodus Clay had and Adam Rose had.
Yeah.
He's got an edge to him. He's ready to go. You know, no way Jose could be a star in a year or two as long as he stays in that NXT. Austin Aries wins that match, gets hit with the GTS by Tommy. The crowd fucking the go to sleep. We're gonna say this here one time and one time only. The artist formerly known as Kenta is the person who created the go to sleep move. CM Punk stole Kenta's finish. He stole his finish and popularized it. CM Punk. Okay, it was Kenta's move. So that moment was seen as Kenta reclaiming his move. Right, I know the dog is in the room.
No, I'm not. That's not even the dog. It's not the dog. The door is locked. So, no.
So it was a really good moment. Kenta hitting the GTS. Ember Moon versus Billie Kay was a pretty good move, pretty good match. Not great. It was good, and then you had the finish.
Yeah.
Corkscrew stunner. It was impressive as all hell. Something. She's got something. Bobby Roode. It was a stunning entrance. I'm not going to use the word glorious. The stunning, magnificent entrance. And it was really good. He had a decent match with Cien Almas. A couple of things against Cien. Different match on the card, and they should have had Roode go up against a different kind of face. Of mine getting booed.
Right.
Against Ty Dillinger. So I would have had Cien Almas in a different match. Cien Almas is a guy who I've mentioned quite a few times. WWE not to need Alberto Del Rio. Cien Almas or the former La Sombra is a lot of personality, a lot of charisma. The ring sooner than later. They shouldn't have put him in this match with Bobby Roode. He's got the fucking rocket strapped to his back, and he's ready to go up to the main round. If Bobby Roode showed up on Raw or SmackDown, you heard that damn thing playing. She's out there to challenge Dean Ambrose. It makes sense. He looks like a star.
Yeah.
Never was in TNA. So in 2 weeks, WWE presented Bobby Roode as more of a star. Years. So, I think that's it.
It is it.
Every single one of those matches was outstanding. Nakamura winning was a moment. He had a fucking great entrance too. Is the man now good?
It was great. It was a great event. The crowd didn't really shit all over anything, which was great. Obviously Nakamura. And again, a lot of those results were predictable, just like SummerSlam, but again, they made the most of their opportunities. The matches built. There was moments within them. There was, the great tag team match, Nakamura, Samoa Joe, which was a different kind of hard-hitting kind of match. Obviously, Bobby Roode with the entrance and how huge and how big that moment that was. The whole event. Bailey Asuka was a moment. Bailey's goodbye to essentially the NXT. The whole, I mean, that again, that's what I'm saying. You know, you make things a moment. The results can be predictable. Like we can go into an event and go, well, we kind of know most of these matches who's going to end up winning them, but you could still make it an awesome pay-per-view event if you actually everybody in the ring makes the most of their matches and the booking backs it up. And they did that. Now, last night on Raw, obviously, you had to start with Balor relinquishing the title due to injury. You know, Bayley's been promoted to the main roster. We all knew she was going to be in with Charlotte. Well, I always thought the title change might happen. Although I will admit, I do kind of like the idea of building up as a moment when they do it. And Charlotte as a heel can make that a moment. So I kind of like that. I mean, I can deal with that, even though I was expecting a title change. You know, they continued a lot of plot threads from SummerSlam. And again, and this is where I think we mentioned this on Sunday. This is off the air, obviously. This is why when they did the brand split was wrong. Okay, they should have started the brand split well before Battleground. They shouldn't have had Battleground be like a mixture of things that they're finishing off before the brand split and a mixture of things that they're building for the brand split. Battleground should have been the first pay-per-view of the split, like SummerSlam was, like SummerSlam ended up being. I know it wasn't a big meant to be a big pay-per-view like an 8 pay-per-view, but I would have expanded it, okay, made it longer, and just added some of these matches and blew off some of these feuds, and then had SmackDown, SummerSlam be kind of either the start of it and then the end of some of those things, like Cena Styles had to end there. That was a big deal. All right, but like some of the stuff that was filler, that was essentially building up. Roman Rusev, now I understand you couldn't do that Battleground because you had to burn off the Shield triple threat. Roman Rusev shouldn't have ended like that at SummerSlam. I understand the whole WWE Universal title thing is messed up because of Balor. That's okay. But everything else should have been the way it was. You know, you don't have Dolph versus Dean Ambrose on a SummerSlam card. I'm sorry, you don't. Dean, you could have had Dean face somebody that would have been credible right out of the gate. Make his first title defense at SummerSlam be a big deal. Why couldn't have that been Bray Wyatt? And you know, and here's the thing: Bray Wyatt has actually beaten Dean Ambrose a ton, so we would have bought that Bray Wyatt could win that match. Or why wasn't it a triple threat match with Dolph Ziggler in there, so Dolph could eat the pin and Bray doesn't have to, and Ambrose still defends his title? You see what I'm saying? Little things like that. A lot of this stuff should have been blown off before we got to SummerSlam. SummerSlam shouldn't be non-finished. SummerSlam is your WrestleMania of the summer. It should be blowing off feuds or being big. Every match should be a big deal. It should be some kind of moment or some kind of big deal. We shouldn't be doing filler and holding things the next pay-per-view. Oh, yeah, New Day and the Club, the feud must continue. No, there ain't no feud must continue at SummerSlam. Either you have somebody win the match or you make something out of it, a moment or something out of it. It should just be filler. Most of those matches at SummerSlam were filler, and you saw that on Raw last night because a lot of last night was about just extending things that are already in the universe. And that's a problem. It wasn't a good show last night. You had the moment with Finn, which was a moment. Obviously, you're building up the title match for next week, which is going to be interesting, to say the least. And we'll see what happens. You know, I think the only person I think we can say that's not coming out of that match, that doesn't have a chance to win that match, is Big Cass. I think everybody else has a viable chance to win. I expect it to be Rollins, but we'll see. We'll see. And again, you know, we talked about this last night. I'm sure Mike will talk about it in a minute. You know, if Rollins wins, who's your face that's going to face him? You going to go back to Roman again? You go to Sami Zayn since you kind of ran an injury kind of thing last night? But is that helpful to Sami if he doesn't win? Cesaro's in a best of 7 with Sheamus? I mean, what do you do? I know that there's talk that Samoa Joe's going to be promoted. He could probably be an option. So that's going to be interesting. So it wasn't a whole lot last night other than the relinquishing the title, the build up to the title match next week. The Brock Lesnar thing, there was nothing on. Apparently, the storyline angle they're running is that Stephanie fined them $500.
The storyline is that they fined him $500.
The storyline is that she only fined them $500. Basically, she doesn't feel it's her guy. You know what they're doing? It's the whole brand like competition. Oh well, he attacked Shane and they laid out Randy Orton, so that benefits Raw because one of their top talents was laid out and made Brock look good. You know what I'm saying? Now let me tell you something, Mike. I'm going to say this because this has been reported by the Dirt Sheets over the last 2 days. You know why they're doing this storyline?
Why?
To build up to Brock Lesnar versus Shane McMahon at the Royal Rumble.
Brock Lesnar versus Shane McMahon at the Royal Rumble.
Yes, that is
good.
That's what I've been reading, yes.
That sounds...
Yes, because he just busted open Randy Orton and left him in a pool of blood in the ring. We're going to hand Shane McMahon over to Brock Lesnar. That sounds like an inspired idea.
Sounds dumb.
I was being
Stupid. I'm not being sarcastic.
I was being sarcastic. It is. You're right. It is dumb. That's what I was saying. But yeah, I don't get it. I really don't get it. But anyway, that's the kind of angle that they're setting up. So last night wasn't very good. From what I'm seeing of SmackDown and what I'm reading, it looks like a better show. I don't like the idea that they built up this whole Bray is kind of involved with Dolph Ambrose thing and they didn't go anywhere with it. But from what I understand, there may be more to that as to why they did that. So I'm not gonna go crazy on it yet. Not gonna go crazy on it yet. Although I will say this: the Brave Randy Orton program has been sitting there waiting to be done for over a year. It was supposed to be done at WrestleMania. So I'm not down on it. I think it's going to be a good program. I do think this will benefit Bray Wyatt, but I mean, you had Bray around Ziggler. It's kind of a disappointment to not go there. But it looks like tonight's show isn't that bad. So that's good. Mike, do you have any thoughts on last night's Raw?
I am looking here. A list of the Raw roster.
Mm-hmm.
Because look, it's fine. The Fatal 4-Way next week is Rollins versus Owens versus Big Cass.
Big Cass.
Big Cass. Okay, so it's Big Cass. The matches were fine. Probably would have included Jericho in that Fatal 4-Way just to kind of build it up. And I would have had Russo screw him. Because that program clearly isn't done.
I kind of think that's going to happen next week.
I would hope that it happens last week. Because, all right, the feud gets blown off by a non-finish at SummerSlam. Hard decision making. Raw last night was fine. Should not have been against Dana Brooke, but it was. Bayley's first match was Charlotte match. Because now we're just doing the Bayley program. Only we're taking Sasha out, and we're putting in Bayley.
Right.
Finn Balor getting injured was awful.
It was.
And you could tell that this is just kind of a last minute thrown together thing because we're expecting Finn to carry and be the face, the good guy of the brand for the foreseeable future. They were expecting Finn to be that guy and to help because all of their other faces are currently tangled up in programs. Roman Reigns is supposedly in a program with Rusev. At the New Day are currently in a program with Anderson and Gallows. Although, who would be the big guy? Who would be the wrestler from the New Day you'd put against a heel champion? Either Kofi or I imagine. But I was looking. They are currently busy. Say it's okay. So say it's Rollins that's going to win it. Has had 2 title reigns in the last calendar year. Can we please? I would Kevin Owens. It's me. I prefer to be Kevin Owens. Nothing new. At this point, it's like there's no reason not to. You can kind of still run with the Jericho thing, and you can kind of to an Owens versus Jericho match. Card match anyways on no it could be fine. Jericho versus Owens I would believe would be a main event match, but let me just throw this out there. These are the faces. Big Cass and Enzo, Big E, Izzy, Big Show for a heel champion. Let's see, Brian Kendrick is a cruiserweight. Cesaro, Sheamus in a best of 7 series for a WWF opportunity. And they haven't specified what championship that is. Although you can bet that he's going to win the best of 7 and be shoehorned right to face Rollins or Owens. Jericho, Axel, Darren Young. He's busy with Titus O'Neil. Injured. He's with R-Truth. They're not doing anything. He's not getting a run. Already said Mark Henry is so far down the card right now, and he's practically Neville. You're not really going to build up Neville. Neville's probably going to be a linchpin to the cruiserweight division. Sami Zayn's an option, but he lost last night.
You could go back to him, though.
You could go back to him. Or literally, it's Sami Zayn, Big Show, or you bring up a guy from NXT like Samoa Joe and run him face for a little bit. That's it. That's what you have on Raw. You mentioned this at the draft. Raw was heel-centric. SmackDown got all the main event faces, main event heels. Here we are. Goes down and because Roman Reigns isn't your face. Roman Reigns is going to get booed if you put him in that spot again. God, I really wish Kevin Owens wins because at least he's a heel who gets cheered. And you could kind of work that for a little bit. That's it. That'd be the only thing. God, your options are Big Show, Sami Zayn, who's not going to win, or like Joe, which is not your worst option. You have to put the title right on him, and then it's like you're putting the title right on another NXT guy. They're probably going to put the title on Seth Rollins next week. They're probably going to have him pin Big Cass. That's what you're going to get. I don't know.
I think it's more likely.
Raw.
I think it's more likely he pins Roman Reigns than Big Cass, based on what I've been reading. But okay.
This is where we are now. Raw happened. It was all right. SmackDown's happening right now, and I don't know why you drop Bray Wyatt because this was the one opportunity for a World Championship picture. opportunity to get Bray Wyatt in this year, because you could run him against Dean Ambrose, and he could take the title, and he's a believable threat. Feud. You drop it and you go put him right with Randy Orton. A feud he's not going to win. I quit.
See, I think he's going to win I think he's going to win the Orton feud.
No, because Randy just came off getting TKO'd at SummerSlam. He's going to win.
We'll see. He'll win a match, but we'll see.
Randy's going to win.
The one thing we didn't mention was the Dudley Boys stuff last night, which shockingly ends up being the end of the Dudley Boys. They are leaving the company. Bubba Ray has been tweeting today. He's hinting around the return of the Bully Ray character for another promotion. They did sign a 1 year. They were going to sign a 1 year deal a couple weeks ago. I'm not sure if it was the company or them. Somebody decided. They decided to mutually part ways at some point. It didn't happen. That's why they got the goodbye last night in Brooklyn, and I guess they wanted to put somebody over on their way out. It was kind of a weird way to put things. I could see them putting over the club, but I didn't understand why we had to have the Shining Stars involved.
Because the Dudleys had to get their shit in on somebody.
I guess, but they could have done it on the club, couldn't they? The whole thing could have been about the club. But, whatever. Anyway, they're gone. So the talent pool gets a little smaller still. So there's that. It's going to be interesting next week because, I wish everybody's going to that match thinking it's going to be Reigns because they're going to think, they lost a face, they're going to put it on another face. And then Rollins will probably be like the co-favorite. They didn't play the Rusev card this week. And I understand why. And look, that whole match that Rusev had last night with Big Cass, they rated on the entire match that, if it wasn't for Reigns injuring Rusev's ribs, he would do, they laid it on thick. Roman Reigns is going to get screwed over by Rusev next week. That's a given. The only way I think having Rollins win the title next week works, okay, is if you use this in the midst of this, you use it to turn him face, which is what they ultimately want to do anyway, because they want, if he ends up feuding with Triple H, which I think he will be at WrestleMania this year, then he's going to have to go in as a face. So you could use this as kind of a way to gradually get him on that path. With Owens, you made a great point. This is something that a lot of people were talking about today. You got the Jericho thing going on with Owens right now. Now, you put the title on Owens next week. Now, I understand a lot of people are like, well, you know what? It wouldn't be, Kevin Owens deserves a moment. It wouldn't be a moment. It'd be a very little build. Look, it is what you make it. It could be still a moment, and it could still be something. Okay? You put the title on Owens next week. If you can find if you could find maybe a contender, throw Sami Zayn in there, and then throw Rollins in there. Make it a triple threat at Clash of the Champions. And then you can make that be the moment where you start to build Zayn up as the guy that takes it off Owens. And then after that, you can maybe have Jericho turn on Owens and get a feud out of that where Owens ends up retaining throughout that feud. And then you can throw Big Show in there for one pay-per-view as a guy. And then, you can run. Balor's going to be gone for 6 months. You can't use him. Then you maybe bring Samoa Joe up and put him in a feud with Owens as a face, and then you get some mileage out of that. Get Owens to WrestleMania to put over Zayn. There's ways to do it. It's just not the conventional way of doing it. So my opinion is you either go the Rollins route and use this as a precursor to his face turn, or you go the Owens route, and then at some point you're probably going to have to turn Jericho or Owens face. Probably Jericho, because if you want Owens to put over Zayn, you got to keep him a heel. And Jericho can flip heel or face on a dime. So it's nothing. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, wouldn't they really swerve the hell out of all of us if Big Cass comes out with the title next week?
Yes, there's a 0% chance of that actually happening.
Hey, I would have never thought that Dolph Ziggler would have been in a battling Dean Ambrose for the WWE title at SummerSlam.
Most Apollo Crews, so don't be too surprised.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Now, this is before we go off. One last thing that's going around. I texted you this earlier. There's been a lot of talk in recent days of the Undertaker making a return. He was spotted with Shane McMahon apparently having a meeting. His hair is now dyed, which always means something with Undertaker. Michelle McCool and their child were at ringside. I guess Undertaker was backstage at SummerSlam, from what I'm reading anyway. There's a picture of Undertaker and Shane McMahon with a fan. And Michelle McCool was putting some pictures up. One was of a SmackDown talent sign, and then hashtag Blue Brand. There's a lot of talk that Undertaker will be making a return to SmackDown and be exclusive to SmackDown soon. A lot of people think this is going to be really his last hurrah. That he'll work a few matches and build up to a feud with maybe John Cena at WrestleMania this year. Look, if SmackDown gets Undertaker, it's a big, and he works a few matches this fall and builds into WrestleMania. It's a big boost to them. It looks like Cena's going to be gone for quite a while. My expectation was that we wouldn't see Cena until around the time we might need to see Undertaker. There's a possibility we see him sooner. It depends. But, hey, they could use Undertaker. They can get Undertaker in some matches, put some guys over, or get some feuds going. I honestly, Raw could probably use Undertaker more right now because they need faces. But, hey, if he comes back, he comes back. He'll help whatever brand he's on. Mike, you have any thoughts on the potential Undertaker return?
Well, there was always the brand split when Undertaker ended up on SmackDown, and that's where he wanted to stay. So it's not surprising that Undertaker would be very interested in staying on SmackDown. He and Shane McMahon are good friends, so
yeah,
there's really not a whole lot to say there, but yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that if Undertaker works Mania, which it looks like he will, he'll be facing John Cena, providing nothing happens. I think that's a given. I think that's a given. So we'll see. But be cool to see him back. All right. So I think we covered everything we needed to cover. So we will leave it at that. As always, just because the show is over does not mean you have to stop interacting or contributing to our show. You continue to have your voice heard. Send us your feedback, your questions or comments or reactions related to the show, things we talked about on the show, things we said on the show, any breaking news items or topics you want to see us cover on the show. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. You can either use the hashtag we provide for you, hashtag ITSpotlight411 or hashtag ITS5. That one's our 5th anniversary on the air hashtag. Or you can have your own create your own hashtag. Like if you talk about football, hashtag ITSFootball. Talk about movies, hashtag ITSMovies. Just don't be disrespectful or offensive. If you do create a hashtag, that's all we ask. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure you like our page upon finding it. If there's any questions related to the TV awards, or in the future you submit anything for the TV awards, again, you can only do that by email only. Please keep that in mind. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially in regards to scheduling. That's if we're not on the air, the best way for me to tell you all what's going on, if there's a delay or postponement, is through social media. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to make sure you get the latest information in regards to all that. In order to keep up with our show, you have a couple of ways in which to do that. If you're only interested in our Google Plus YouTube episode, which is everything from mid-October all the way up into tonight's episode, or maybe just a fan of streaming and seeing us on screen rather than hearing us, then you might want to check us out here on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411. You'll find every episode we produce for Google Plus and YouTube, everything from mid-October all the way up into tonight, is on both sites. So if you missed an episode, missed a part of an episode, want to check out an episode again, whatever the case, you can do that here on Google Plus and YouTube anytime you wish. If you're more of a fan of audio podcasting, hearing us and not necessarily seeing us, maybe you like to listen to us on the go, maybe you're interested in more of our older classic episodes. If any of that applies to you, then you want to search for us on Podbean and iTunes. To search for In the Spotlight 4-in-1 on both sites, and you'll have access to every episode we've ever done. That's not just our Google Plus YouTube episodes. Everything we've done from when we started on Blog Talk Radio in October 2010, right through our talk show run from January 2011 all the way up until October of last year. And then everything we've done on Google Plus and YouTube is on there in audio format, transferred for you all for your convenience. So every episode we've ever done over the 5.5 years we've been on the air is on Podbean and iTunes in order from most recent to the oldest. To search for In the Spotlight 4-in-1, and you will find it. So when you missed a part of an episode, missed an episode entirely, want to look back at old classic episodes, maybe you're a long-time fan wants to look back at those old episodes, or you're a new fan and wants to listen to those episodes for the first time, or maybe you just missed an episode in general of a recent maybe missed a recent episode, whatever the case, you can check us out on Podbean, iTunes, as well as Google Plus and YouTube. Always to keep up with our show, just search for In the Spotlight 4-in-1 on all those sites. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight, as always. Thank you, Mike.
Not bad.
Thank myself for another great show. Pay myself on my back, and thank all of you for your continued support and your continued contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching, and those that will be listening later. Thank you to you as well. Let's see here. I just forgot what I was going to say. A couple of things I want to mention before we end. I should have started with this. I usually do, but I just didn't. Really quickly, I want to express our condolences and thoughts and prayers. I want to mention, give our thoughts and prayers to the family, friends, and fans of Stephen Hill. He was featured on Law and Order. He died at the age of 94, so we want to express our condolences to his family, friends, and fans, and may he rest in peace. And I also want to, many people might not know who this is, but if you watch the Wendy Williams show, her hairstylist, Antoine Jackson, has died. So I just saw this on Facebook, but I thought, whenever I see something, I think we should mention it. So our thoughts, prayers, and condolences to everyone, Antoine's family, friends, loved ones, and obviously everybody at the Wendy Williams show as they mourn his loss. May he rest in peace. So I just wanted to make note of that. So just want to make sure I note that. Usually I do that at the beginning of the show, but I just want to make sure I note that before we go off the air. This is our last show of the week. It's our first and only show of the week. Again, no show on Thursday. Our next show will be a week from tonight. And it'll be the same kind of show: sports, entertainment, wrestling. So box office beat. We'll cover some baseball, any other sports we have to cover, any other entertainment news we have to cover, wrestling, all that stuff we'll cover next Tuesday. Same kind of show coming up next week. So a week from tonight, which is August the 30th, it will be our next show. So please keep that in mind. So I hope you all have a great rest of your week, a great weekend, a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here broadcasting and streaming live on Google Plus and YouTube at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time next Tuesday night, August the 30th. Until then, I hope you all have a great night. See you out next week.